Yeah, and welcome to Papa Stash 102. So today, we're not going to talk about scales when we're talking about soloing. We're going to talk about chords because that is the single most important thing I want to impart to all of you is to not worry about so much about scales, modes, all that stuff. Now they are important, so learn them obviously, but let's see how to visualize chord shapes all over the neck so we can solo melodically and not just whittle through scales. And I promise this will help open doors. Now down below, I have a blues soloing link in the description box. That will show you how to solo melodically over like a 1-4-5 chord, and it'll take all these concepts and apply it to that, the most popular progression ever, the 1-4-5 blues progression. So check out that link. That video is not on YouTube. And as for these concepts, it's pretty basic, where I'm going to give you 3 chord shapes. You can memorize them all over the neck, and I promise it'll open so many doors because it happened to me. The light bulb went ding! And it helped me. So hopefully it helps you too. Let's zoom in for a closer look. Okay, so the first time I ever heard of this concept of seeing chords all over the neck was my buddy Mark, who's like the best guitar player I've ever seen just in front of my eyes. It's terrifying, but he said, dude, if you want to learn how to solo melodically, learn the cage system or how to see the chords all over the neck. So I was like, okay, whatever, this cage thing, it sounds cool. Then I heard another guy, Guthrie Govan, and if you want to throw your guitar out the window, watch this guy because he'll just dispel like any visions that you have of being the best guitar player ever because he's terrifying. But he said the same thing, caged. So it basically goes over, see C, A, G, E, D, all those different inversions of those chords all over the neck. We're going to take 3 of those inversions of the chords. So what it basically does is it shows you how to see the chord shapes all over the neck, and it chains them all together in a system they called caged. Now what caged is basically the C version, the A version, the G version, the E version, and the D version of each of the chords, the same chord, right? So let me give you an example. The C chord, the C shape of that chord would be right here. The A shape of the C chord, if you think open position chords, right? An A chord looks like that. Well, to make that shape a C chord, we have to scoot it up and use our first finger as a movable capo until we find the root note of C on the A chord. So that would be the C version of the C chord, the A version of the C chord, the G version, right? So we'd have to scoot it up. Imagine a G chord. Okay, the next one would be the E, and then the D, right? So you've learned the C version, the A, the G, the E, and the D of one chord all up and down the neck. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, because if you know the inversions of the chords up and down the neck, when it comes time to solo, you'll be able to hit the target notes of each of the chords in the progression as the progression goes by. And that is what makes a solo melodic. So, if we take this progression, D, to the D. Now, if I just learned what I talked about, the E, the A, and the D versions of each of those chords, my soloing capabilities would skyrocket, okay? Now, obviously, that's D major. I could use the D major pentatonic, but within that scale, it doesn't necessarily show me what notes to hit as the progression goes by. So I can use that as a roadmap, but the destination are the notes of the chords, okay, as the progression goes by. So while I do a riff like this over the D chord, right? I'm playing right off of a D chord. Now, if I wanted to relate that to a scale, right? That's fourth position of D major. But just knowing that scale doesn't show me the chord tones. So I'm going to think about chord tones instead. And what I just did was I used two of the notes of the scale and I walked up. I went 2nd fret G, 3rd fret, right out of the D chord. Went back to it, and then I jumped up and we came back. Okay, so that's B5 back to G2. So I went. Now watch this. When I bend up that a whole step, I'm actually bending this note into the next D chord. It's the major third of that inversion of the chord. That's why it sounds good. Now if I hit this note, it's part of that chord as well. All right, so we got. Okay, now what I can do is when the next chord comes, if I know the inversions, those three inversions, the E, the A, and the D of those, or that next chord. So for instance, I could do E minor here, I can do E minor here, I can do E minor here, I can do E minor here, right? So the E version, the D version of the chord, right? The A version of the chord, so think A minor, and the E version up here, an octave higher. I have all those notes to choose from, and I'm not relying on a scale. So check this out. I went. When I hit that note right there, the progression changes to E minor, and I just hit one of the notes of the E minor chord. Now, if I really wanted to hammer it home, I could hit the third of that chord and then come back. Okay, so what I did was I hit the E note, and then I hit the third, which makes the chord major or minor. So I really hammered in, this is an E minor chord. Not even thinking scales. Now, my G version of the next chord, or the D version of the G chord, I should say, I could do it and play right out of the E version of the chord, okay? But I want to scoot up and do something higher. I want to move. I've played two chords in the progression in this one spot. So I want to change up my soloing a little bit. Well, I played the D right here. I can use this shape and scoot it up the neck and use this exact same shape, but turn it into a G chord right here. And that's the 7th fret on the G, the 8th on the B, E, 7. I'm going to do the exact same riff I did on the D major chord. So what I did is the exact same riff. And then I'm going to come down because I got to go back to my D chord. And that's a note right out of my D chord, the A inversion of that chord. I can take it up a step further and hit the next inversion of the D chord. And then hit another one. Right in one riff, I hit two inversions of the D chord. I hit the E version. I shifted up 1 to 12 and 12 on the G and the E. And then if I take this same shape and move up a whole step, I get to the next inversion of my D. So I didn't even think about using a scale. I didn't think about using D major or D major pentatonic. I thought only about the three inversions of each of the chords as the progression was going by. And if you know how to do that, then you can use the scale as the roadmap and the chord tones as the destination. And I promise you, the quicker you learn that, your soloing will take off. So take the next week, learn the E version, the A version, and the D version of each chords in any progression. Take the D, E minor, G, and learn the 3 inversions of those chords all over the neck. And I swear to you, if you just stick with the 3 notes, the root, the third, and the fifth of each of those chords as they go by, and you're able to play the D here, right? The E minor here, the G here, and the D here, your soloing will take off. I mean, I promise you. And then when you put that together with knowing the actual scale, the D major scale or the D major pentatonic, you'll own it. Even if you're not playing fast, you'll play melodic, which is what everybody remembers. Yes! Way to go. Don't forget the link down below. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel. I post stuff all the time. It'll let you know when all the latest videos are coming out. I do session stuff with Tim Pierce, who's freaking amazing. There's song tutorials, there's soloing tutorials, all sorts of stuff. So if you want to see those videos when they come out, subscribe to the channel. If you want to get in a top 40 band, you know, jam out in bars or coffee shops, if you're a kid, maybe the high school, over there is papastachepop. There's another 570 lessons over there. Check that out. And if you like the way I teach, down below in the links area is papastach.com, and that'll take you to my site where I have all sorts of products to teach you how to play guitar and to understand this lifelong endeavor we've all decided to join in on. You guys are amazing. If you like what you see, do not be afraid to share the videos and tell your friends. That would be awesome. Catch you next time.